we're back again.
We are.
I'm super excited to have this conversation with you because I know we've been working together for a couple of years.
I think 3.
Yeah. And it's just so wild just to see, like, to observe that like first retreat that we did together where you were dreaming and just like so many beautiful things. And then just kind of like watching everything unravel over the years. So I just want to have our cozy conversation to just talk about our work experience together and what you've been able to create. Like you have a beautiful family, you have a blogging business. So I'd love for you to just give me a little background of what it is that you do with all the hats that you wear.
Sure. So I run the food blog Culinary Hill. With your help, I have a team that helps me with the writing, the photography, the videos, and a lot of the day-to-day things. So that frees up some of my time to focus on what I want to do, which is some writing of emails and the planning and the testing of the recipes. Those are my favorite things. And then I have 3 children, and the house is always a mess. And I just have a lot going on, but I'm able to support my family through my blog.
And how old are your children?
I have a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, and my baby is 4 months.
It's just so wild. And so is your business like still able to run with new baby?
Yes, and I should also just say I'm divorced, so I'm doing this without any partner help. So yes, my business is thriving. I actually made the intentional decision to hire my director of operations last January with your help. And that was just knowing that I was going to try to get pregnant so that if I had a baby, I would have everything in place, that things wouldn't have to slow down, and they haven't. And now that I'm not pregnant anymore, I want to work, and I work all the time, but only on the things that I really like, and I just love it.
That's awesome. So when we first started working together, even kind of like before we started working together, what were some of like the challenges and frustrations that you were facing with running your blog and your business?
So there are basically 2 things that were the reasons that prompted me to hire you. One was just burnout, too much work, needing help, not sure how to hire a team. And the other one was the deeper purpose, having a why to really drive me and something bigger that I was working towards. So you helped with both of those. So those 2 things, I was on your email list for a year before I hired you the first time, because I just felt like that was a good idea for me. And then just every email that came through, and I heard you on podcasts, and I was just like, this is my person.
Yeah. Was there any like hesitations in like, had you hired a business coach before, worked with a coach?
I had never worked with a coach. I had hired an agency, Cook It, to help me with my branding, but the investment was way smaller. So I just remember my now ex-husband at the time, I just remember having a conversation with him being like, so I think I'm going to spend this chunk of money investing in a business coach. And he was just like, okay, whatever you think. So, but yeah.
And
So
like,
I never worked with anyone in that capacity where I got support, business side and personal.
yeah. And I feel like that's probably a huge like differentiator in the way that I coach and support my clients. Can you talk a little bit about that, of like the business side and the personal side and like?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I need both. And what was so helpful was that you did both, because my business and my personal life are so intertwined in terms of I work at home and I'm juggling things with kids around, and I'm doing my work in my own kitchen, and I can't do these things without a nanny or whatever. Like, my life is all just one blur. And so I need the support on both sides, because if one thing's down personally, it's going to affect the business. That's just the way it is in my life.
Yeah. I love that you shared that too, of like, it's like, yeah, if that one part is not getting the attention or you don't have the energy to show up there, then the other side of your life
Right.
is going to be affected by that. And like,
Right.
it's like we're integrated, like whole human beings or whole women running businesses and households and just trying to navigate all those pieces. And just before we started recording, you showed me like the brain sneeze, the brain dump of your to-do list of like just kind of finding that calm and peace in your to-do list. And I think
Right.
that's super awesome. What
Yeah.
were like some of the emotions, like how did you feel like in your business? I know you mentioned burnout, but like what were some of the emotions that you were feeling before getting the support of having a business coach in your corner?
I think there was a lot of just sometimes helplessness and confusion and swirling of what should I be working on? What's the priority? If I want help, how do I find it? If I want to talk to this person, how do I do it? Like, how do I get everything done? Just, I think chaos. Like, I just felt chaotic a lot of the time. I have so many things to do, and how am I ever going to get this all done?
Yeah. So, something that we always do in starting our calls or in the in-person retreats is like pausing to celebrate wins and like making that a consistent practice, which is sometimes can be hard for us when we're constantly like in that go, go, go mode, right? It's like just on to the next thing, check the next thing off the list. So I know that was like a huge practice of ours. What are some wins, milestones, things that you want to celebrate out loud that you were able to accomplish, in the time that we worked together?
I think a lot of it for me was learning about myself, learning my habits and how I operate, and you pointing those patterns out to me. For me, that's like such a huge thing. Even just hiring people, you said, okay, well, let's just write out what you want, and then you'll be ready to go. If if the time comes, if you find the right person, you'll have the job description. And I think that worked for me like 4 or 5 times, where now I just feel like, okay, when I'm actually ready to hire somebody, all I have to do is write it out, and like, that helps so much, the right person. It's like, I don't know how that happens, but figuring out my process of letting people and things go. So just a lot of self-reflection. Also just the team that I built. Personally, I have a nanny. Professionally, I have the writer, the photographer, the video person, the ops person. You helped me build all of that. Also just figuring out how to prioritize, and just even my little checklist of like brain dump. I mean, I know it sounds obvious, but I needed somebody to say, okay, just write it all out. And when you write it all out, it just helps so much.
Yeah. And what do you feel like, how do you feel as like a leader, like being the person that like runs your company today than how you may have felt before?
I mean, I feel really confident in what I'm doing and where we're going. And when I get pushback from people that are like, well, I think maybe we should do this, or, oh, you don't really need to pay for that service, or, oh, you're wasting money here, I'm just like hard about it. I'm like, that's a hard no. Like, I know what I'm doing. This has worked. You just wait long enough and you will agree with me. And I mean, I want to be open to other people's ideas, and I am, but I feel very secure in what I've built and how I've built it, and I know it in and out, and I feel like I'm the most qualified to lead my company, which is silly, but
You are. I mean, you've even had like people helping you, like you've delegated so much and just working on the things that, bring you the most joy. And obviously when we run a company, we still have to do some stuff that's not sexy in business. But I mean, I think those were a lot of our conversations of like, what's draining your energy, what's giving you energy, and where, like, even just having someone help you prepping in the kitchen when you're recipe testing, or, and also not, I mean, maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, where it's like not letting go of the stuff that maybe someone would say, like, you should outsource that, but you're actually like, but I actually enjoy doing that. Right. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, people do, like food bloggers, they don't want to cook their recipes. I've read things where they're like, oh, I hired my 12-year-old child to do my recipe development. I saw it in a Facebook group recently, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. But like, I went to culinary school. That was another thing that you helped me figure out how to juggle, was like full-time culinary school, which took 2 years. I don't even know how I did it. And sometimes my other employees say, how did you do all of this before you had a team? I mean, just Jadah held my hand and like made the list, and like we figured out the priorities, and a lot of things slid. Like I know when it's time for me to move on something and when I just need to wait for the right season. And email marketing is a thing where I put it off for probably 2 years, and now I'm ready and I'm excited about it. And I forgot what your question was, but hopefully I'm answering.
Totally.
Just like video, I resisted it for a long time and now I'm in the place. So I think for me, it's like I can trust myself. And if I don't do it when everyone else is doing it, that's okay. When I'm ready, I'm all in.
Yeah. And how would you say like your like Culinary Hill, like what was the status of the blog now and how much have you grown it since, and being able to delegate so much more inside the company?
I mean, so my traffic is probably 30 to 40% higher than it was, but I'm posting so much more quality content now than I used to. So before I would post a couple times per week and the photos were just okay, and the posts were, everything was like mediocre, but I was skating by because I was so busy and I was doing everything. And now everything is top quality and we post 5 days per week. And I'm so proud of every single post. And it's like a dream.
Yeah. And what would you say, like you can share this in any way that you want, but would you say that your revenue has grown over the time that we've been able to work together?
Yeah, I would say with the exception for 1 year, it's doubled every year.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you feel was like contributed to some of that? I don't take any responsibility or credit for how my clients grow their companies, because I feel like people are so committed and in their work, and like you're the expert of your business. But it's awesome to see you being able to, you know, have a blog that's sustainable, that's sustaining your family, and you could have a baby and have, you know, take some time off to have the baby, and traveling and all the things that you had to kind of intertwine in that. So it's like you had more support, but you were also still growing at the same time.
Yeah. So I think like obviously part of that is just the industry. So RPMs are really high, but I just think because I'm putting out more content all the time, which I'm able to do because other people are producing it or helping produce it. I have people managing the content. My sister is she's my director of operations. She's all over the calendar. And I just think it's easier to grow when you're putting out amazing content it's like, for me, I feel like it makes sense because we're putting out a really high quality product. I think like I'm really proud of the site and the content that's there. So I'm glad that Google agrees and my readers respond.
That's
But
awesome.
I'm not putting out posts anymore where I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of like not sure, but we'll just post it anyway. Like, no, everything is great. And I just love it. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah. And I know that you talked about like, you know, letting go, whether it's like releasing people, firing people, but I also know like a big thing that we worked on was you letting go of certain revenue streams in your business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I used to do sponsored posts and I just didn't really enjoy it. And I know that's a common theme among bloggers, but people do it for the money. And I don't like other people having a say in what I post. I don't like having to incorporate a certain ingredient. I don't like the salesy sounding key messaging. And so, yeah, last year I ended my partnership with my agency and just said, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I love it.
Was there any fears or hesitation of letting go of that revenue stream?
Not for me. Now, my ops person, my sister, is like, well, let's not tell anybody no. Let's just say right now, because
Yeah.
she's all worried about it. But I'm just like, you don't understand. Like that is not what we should be focusing on.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the message that I have for myself is I am only promoting my own stuff. I'm promoting my own company. Why would I ever promote somebody else's? I mean, for the money, fine, but it doesn't feel good anymore. I
Yeah.
want to promote my company, Culinary Hill, and my style. And I'm happy to promote something if I want to without being paid for it.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel. And I love it.
That's awesome. What would you say, like, was there anything different about how we've worked together? And just, I know you didn't work with a coach before, but just in your own other experiences of getting support and moving your business forward.
Well, I feel like you just really understand me in ways that other people don't. So when I talk to family or I talk to friends about business things or personal things, people don't really they're unable to see the whole picture, and they're unable to understand what I'm going through, because they're just, not that I'm at your level, but you've been at mine. And so I can talk to you about things without judgment or fear or having to defend myself. And when I try to have those conversations with other people, they don't understand, they can't relate to me, and I spend more time trying to convince them to just listen to me than finding solutions. Like there's no support.
Yeah.
So
What do you feel has been like the most helpful for you in having me in your corner? Like what strategies have I shared, or just your experience?
I think you teaching me about myself and identifying my patterns, which I already mentioned, you helping me learn how to combat the swirl, and just having somebody that understands me, my business, and what I'm going through. And I mean, we've worked together for 3 years, so I feel like nobody knows me like you do. And I mean, my sister obviously knows the business a lot now, but not in the same way that you do.
Yeah, I love that. What do you feel, what do you feel more clear about today in your business and who you are as a mom, as a business leader? Like, what feels clear for you now that maybe didn't feel as clear before?
I think it's so easy for me to evaluate opportunities now and be like, yes, this is what I'm doing now. No, I'll do it later. Or no, I'm never going to do that. I think just like the trust in myself, not that I'm never wrong and I can always change, but it's so easy for me to evaluate opportunities.
Yeah.
I never had that ability before, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's like easy for me to get to know now. I think you've said that, like I'm moving so much more quickly to the no.
Yeah.
Or the yes, but
it feels like there's just like this sense of like ease and confidence, right? Because it's like, you're like, oh, I can move quickly, or I can say no quickly, but you're also not rushing all the projects and all the pieces, and like moving in your own timeline and what works for you, for your business, your team, your community that you serve, and your family at the same time.
mm-hmm.
Which is pretty amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we've even talking about like food and fitness and all, like we've worked out like nanny job descriptions, like all those pieces. Yeah.
Like more than once.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to be able to support, because it's like, for me, I know your vision, your goal, where you want to go. And it's like, what's in the way? What's blocking that piece for you to get there? And sometimes we think that it's like some online marketing business strategy, but it's actually like, oh, you actually just need extra support at home.
You actually need me to fold my laundry.
Yes.
I see meal delivery. I see Instacart. Yeah.
So who would you say, that I would be a good fit for? Like, who would you recommend to have that type of support in their corner?
Yeah. I mean, I think for any woman business owner that needs support business-wise, maybe finds that she doesn't have people around her that can support her from a business perspective, from a personal perspective. But even if you have friends where you're sharing tips about your blog, it's not the same as having somebody that you can rely on, that holds your business in their head for you, that you can reach out to at any time with any kind of problem. It's like, this is not a replacement for a retreat where you're chatting about your new strategies. This is just like ongoing support for a person that wants to keep growing, I think, that has bigger ideas and isn't just looking for the next e-course, somebody that really wants to invest in themselves and understand themselves and learn how to grow a team and grow a business.
And talking about retreats, because it's one of my favorite things, can you share a little bit about your experience on some of the retreats that you've gotten to experience with me.
Yeah. I mean, the retreats with you they changed my life. I get this. I think there's something magical about stepping away from the day to day that is hard for people. It's hard for me. There's mom guilt. There's I don't have time. But when you do it, you're able to reevaluate your life in a new way, see it with new eyes, connect with different people. And my life changed completely. I was just able to see everything in a new way and come up with new ideas, the big dreams, everything seems possible, and just keep going from there.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who is like a busy business owner? They've got family, like so many hats that they're wearing. And they're like, well, I don't have enough time. I don't even have enough time to like schedule a call with a coach or, uproot myself from my day-to-day responsibilities and go on a retreat. Like, what would you say to that person who's hesitating if that's even something that they need, if they're so busy or they're on the verge of burnout or they have so many ideas? What would you say to them?
I mean, I would say that person that's like, I resonate with that completely. That's exactly what I'm like. But it's like, if you can take that 1 hour a month to organize your life, you'll spend so much less time doing that every day, because until you take that time to sit down and focus, you're just going to keep swirling and you're wasting more time with things that aren't a priority, or you're working on things that don't really matter. So it seems like you don't have time, but what you don't have time to do is keep swirling and being disorganized. And from a macro perspective, it's the same with the retreats. It's like, if you don't take that time to just focus on what is important for a quarter, you're going to end up doing all these little things that don't really matter. It's crucial that you just focus once in a while, even though it's hard and you don't have time, and I don't either, but that's when the big changes happen.
Yeah.
I think.
Was there like, how did you get over that mom guilt, or like, how did you mentally prepare yourself? I mean, I know the first time was probably hard coming to the retreat, but even like the second retreat was even harder when you're like, I know this is beneficial and yet I don't want to leave the country, or, just like, how did you move yourself through each time? Because the resistance continues to come up, right? Of like, I can talk myself out of this. It'd be easier for me to just stay home with the kids and, keep on doing what I need to do. The business needs me.
Yeah. I mean, I have this personal belief, and I feel like I got this from Bjork from Food Blogger Pro, but not from the group, but just him saying this, just like, the thing that you're resisting is the thing that you should be doing. If it's hard for you, if you don't have time for it, if you're feeling challenged and you're feeling that push and pull, that's what you need to be doing. Yeah. So you just have to go, even though, like, because it's so hard for you, that is the reason that you need to do it.
Yeah. And I love that you shared about Bjork from Food Blogger Pro, because one of the things that I was really excited about was being able to connect you two so that you could share your story on that podcast. Could you just share a little bit about that? I feel like it was like on your dream wish list.
It was, it was on I'm going to hire Jadah, and I hope that she introduces me to Bjork. I just really wanted to be on his podcast because I love it. And and it was great, so fun. And then they did like a replay of it a year later, and I still get emails from people every so often that are like, oh, I heard you on the podcast. Like, I know a lot of people have heard it. They tell me about it. Cook It is always saying like, you were our biggest advertiser, because I talked about them. And it was just such an honor. So I'm hoping to accomplish a few more things and then maybe get back there again.
Yeah, I love that. And I know there's a future book. I feel like books in you.
Two. There's at least two. There's like a fiction and a nonfiction.
Yeah. We'll see. And I feel like with the clients that I work with, like, I'm so attracted to working with people who just inspire me and move me. And they usually have like books and messages and stories to share with the world, and also honoring your time, your energy, and your capacity of like, it's going to happen, but it's like, that's not the priority for this year or this quarter. And so just being able to navigate those decisions and choices that you have to make in your business and your life.
Yeah, I feel like I just have such a feeling now of when I'm ready to move on something and when I'm not. Like right now I have all these different kinds of people that I want to hire, but I'm not there yet. But it's just like sitting out there. So when I'm ready, I'll write out the job description and it'll work. It always
Yeah.
does.
Yes. Yes. And I remember learning also about your process of, there's also, part of your process is also verbally processing.
I am such a verbal person.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think some people might not understand the benefit of that for certain people. Some people, it's like, I can follow a course or I can do this. But I think there's certain, especially like visionaries and people who have big ideas, need to actually talk about and kind of process those things out loud. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, so I have all these ideas sitting inside me all the time, and I have to say them out loud. Or if I have feelings, good or bad, I have to express them with words. And until I do, they all just sort of fester. So I just need time and space to just talk it out, talk about everything that I'm thinking. And until I do, I start to just feel chaotic and out of control. And I just need to say it. And I need somebody that can listen. And I've tried having different people that can listen, and it's really hard to find somebody that can do it the way that you can. It's like I hired the ops person, my sister, and then I've tried making her be that person. So it's like, okay, every Monday we're gonna have a phone call and I'm just gonna talk. But then it's like it turns into a 4-hour call of like FaceTime where she's just watching me talk. And then it's like it happens every day, and suddenly she can't get any work done. And so it's, how do you find that person that can support you in that way? And it's not that
Yeah.
I'm a special snowflake, but I just have a lot of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's like my clients will say, you're like a business therapist, and I'm not a therapist, but it's like, I understand that the emotions that go into, growing a business, having a team, there's things that like maybe a therapist couldn't necessarily connect or relate to or understand. And so being able to have someone that can really like hold all the range of emotions that come up from running a business, and being able to feel like what you said, I just need someone to hear me or understand me, and feel gotten in that way.
Right. And then I don't have to apologize. That I don't have to say, oh, I'm so sorry that I wasted your Monday with my ideas. But then like we joke, like, well, she's on my payroll, so she'll listen, but the business suffers if that's what she's doing all day.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't want to have to explain myself too much. Like I just want, I don't know, there's like this sweet spot of getting the ideas out and having somebody that you know and trust that can say like, yes, let's move on that now, or why don't you think about that for later, or here are some pieces to it that you didn't think about, or what about this idea, what if you tried this approach? And I don't really know people that have experience trying those different things. So
Yeah.
it's like somebody can sit there and listen passively, but that's not even what I need. I need somebody involved with my ideas that cares.
Yeah. And what would you say from, you know, going from feeling kind of like chaotic and that swirl and so many ideas, how would you feel after our calls?
Just at peace, organized, calm, and happy. It's like clockwork. I would just feel great
Yeah.
and focused. Like I knew what to do and I knew what I could not focus on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's a big thing of like, we start with celebrating our wins, and then we're unpacking what's really going on, what's getting in the way.
Right.
And sometimes we think it's this thing, and then it's another thing. And then, but always coming back of like, okay, what are the next like small steps that need to be taken? So it's not like you have more homework to do. It's just like, okay, I can handle this, or I have the capacity for this, and also holding that with you.
And I think one thing that you always help me with is if it's something tiny but painful, you'll just be like, why don't you just go write that email right now? I'll just wait.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all I need.
Yeah, I think, when you're busy running a business, it's like, are you really, and you're not detail, like you don't like to get caught up in the small, tiny details. It's like, as soon as we get off this call, your big visionary creative brain is going to go on to like a bigger project that needs your attention. But like this little piece, we just need to it's going to move the needle so much. So it's like, if this will take us 30 seconds, a minute, that I'm going to hold the space for you to just get it done. So you don't have one more thing on your to-do list, right?
Right. It's
Yeah.
very helpful.
And how would you say, after retreats, how would you feel walking away from a retreat
Like
experience?
anything is possible. I just always felt so much hope and excitement and happiness and just like full of energy to just go out and do whatever I like, whatever the things are that I want to do, that I can do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And I adore you, Meggan. Like, I've loved witnessing you on this journey and navigating just your team, your kids. I mean, one of the favorite things that I would always get from your celebrations is, hey, I volunteered in my kid's classroom. I was at this party. I just feel like you didn't put yourself on the bottom of your to-do list. You didn't put your family on the bottom of that list, and you're super driven and like love the work that you do, and you could like, work on weekends but I just feel like you've had such great boundaries in prioritizing your health and your family in the process. And so I just want to celebrate you for that, because I'm so inspired by just how committed you are to like all parts of your life, and even the inner deep work, because I know there's been like deep internal shifts and emotions that happened on our retreats and in our
Yep.
coaching calls. So it's been just like such an honor to like be on this journey with you.
Thank you. It's all that and more.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Meggan.
Thank you.